I'm Jimi Hendrix, and this episode is called The Coaches on Empower Your Pattern 2.0. Hi, I'm Jimi Hendrix, member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Success, Confidence, and Thrive Coach. I wish to let you know that there are patterns to help you receive more, help you live a better and extraordinary life right now. I also believe that there are spiritual and temporal tips to help you overcome the adversities in everyday life. So if you come with me, I will show you these patterns. Get ready. Let's go. I ask you guys to forgive me for the faux pas for the introduction in the last episode. I accidentally pressed the wrong button. But anyway, without any further ado, I want to give you the background of a man who calls himself a coach. And he has a lot more coaching experience than I ever will. The man himself, Presley Swaggerty. And after a while, I'll come back and explain a little bit more about me and why I call myself a coach.
Well, hello, I'm Presley. I just wanted to take a couple of minutes and us get to know each other a little bit. Wanted to tell you a little bit about me so you can kind of know who I am, where I'm from, and a little bit of what I've done. I'm from Dallas, Texas. I was born and raised in Dallas. Lived with my mom and my dad till I was 9 years old. My dad was not a real good guy, and he left us when I was 9. At that point in time, moved in with my aunt. It was my mom's sister. Mom and I did. Moved into a place called Pleasant Grove. Now, you got to understand, Pleasant Grove wasn't all that pleasant. It was really kind of the ghettos. From the house I lived in, 7 houses. Within 7 houses, there were 2 murders and a rape. The house directly across the street from us, they did a drug bust and they confiscated 500 pounds of marijuana. There was more drugs and violence as a kid than I care to remember. So, I don't apologize for my upbringing. I thank the Lord for it, actually, because it makes me appreciate everything that I have now. As a kid, I loved sports. I played football, baseball, basketball. My coaches became my role models since I didn't have a dad in my life, and I was blessed to have some good men as coaches. So I had those good role models growing up. Had a great mom. She just didn't know how to make money. She worked in a sewing factory, but she was a very loving, godly woman, and I'm the man I am today because of my mom. She passed through, I guess, going on 4 years ago now, and it was the saddest day of my life when that happened, but I was blessed to have her as long as I did. Now, from growing up and playing sports, decided I was going to go to college, mainly because I had a cousin named Manny that went to college, and he kind of let me know that we could do that. And when I say we, I'm talking about somebody from our family, from our side of the tracks. I got loans, I got grants, I did all kinds of stuff, worked, but went to the University of Texas at Arlington. Graduated from there with a degree in history and a minor in math, and I specialized in education. I decided, since my coaches in my life had such an influence on me, I decided to be a coach myself. So I graduated, and it didn't take me long. I found a job. Now, my sport of choice was basketball. I loved basketball, but I actually had played football. In my first job, I'm a football coach at Lakeview Centennial High School in Garland, Texas. I did that for 1 year. And kind of a neat side note is that first year of coaching, we won the freshman district championship, and my guys carried me off the field on their shoulders, still one of the highlights of my life, and I didn't even look at myself as a football coach. But the next year, the JV basketball job opened up. I took that. I was the JV coach for a few years, and then when the head coach retired, I ended up being the head basketball coach at Lakeview High School. I was blessed to have some success there. We had some great kids, some good athletes. We won a few district championships. We got to go to the playoffs. My last year there, we were by-district champions and had a great team. Loved coaching. Did it with a passion. Felt like I helped some kids. I sponsored the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. But if you know anybody in education, at least in Texas, you don't make much money in education. So I was looking for something. I didn't know what the something was at that point in time. I just knew that I was tired of being broke. I actually had a point of disgust. I remember one day, now understand, I had my bachelor's degree. I had managed to get a master's, and I'm the head coach, 5A high school. I'm standing in the cafeteria one day, and I'm going to go eat lunch, and you could eat in our cafeteria for $2. So I pull my wallet out, and I'm looking through my wallet. I didn't have $2 in there. I didn't even have $1. And I got to thinking, I think I've got some change in the truck. So I go out to my 1986 Mazda beat-up pickup that had about 150,000 miles on it. And I'm sitting in that truck scratching change out of the ashtray to see if I can come up with $2. I remember I got $2 and I get out of the truck, I shut the door, and I'm standing there holding nickels, dimes, and quarters that added up to a couple of bucks because you could eat in our cafeteria for $2. And I really don't know what it was that day, but just a moment of disgust hit me. And I just started thinking, I'm not going to live this way any longer. And at that point in time, I didn't even know what I was going to do to change it, but I just knew I couldn't live like that any longer. Guys, that was the day that I made a decision that I was going to change my life. Now, again, I didn't know what I was going to do. I had a cousin that got me into, this is a little time later, I had a cousin that got me into networking. Really didn't feel comfortable in the company, did it for a couple of months. I don't know if I sponsored, I think one person maybe, and then ended up stopping networking. A couple of more years goes by, I'm looking at the business opportunity section in the paper every day. I'm trying to find me something else to do, tried to do some real estate, tried to do a few things to make money. One of my coaches, a gentleman named J.D. Mayo, called me and he had another networking opportunity for me. Now, it'd been a while, so I went and looked with Coach Mayo and decided to get involved. Had some limited success with that company. I tell people it was kind of like my minor league training. I kind of learned how to network. And then ended up getting out of that company a few years later. Again, a couple of more years go by, and then I ended up getting involved with my current company, and that was about 7 years ago. And guys, because I was willing to prepare myself for a while, because I was willing to work and willing to read and willing to hang with successful people, to listen to books on CD, because I was willing to do all that, I was preparing myself. I didn't know it at the time, but I look back now, I was preparing myself with all those experiences from coaching and the growing and doing a couple of networking deals. I was preparing myself for this current opportunity. And when this company came along, I had a little bit of a grasp about what to do. I kind of understood networking a little bit, and I jumped in the deep end right off the bat and started having some pretty amazing success. The team started blowing up, and today we've got about 200,000 associates, and we've signed up about 1 million customers. Jeannie and I, that's my wife, we've been blessed to make somewhere a little over $16 million in those 7 years. And what I wanted to do with this website was to kind of give back a little bit. I'm hoping that with my experience now, I can help you dodge a few potholes, give you a few success tips, and help you have some success and get to enjoy financial freedom and time freedom like we've been able to do. The free coaching, guys, you can go there anytime. I hope you...
Okay. Now, let me explain to you my story. I was born January 20th, 1970. Legally blind with multiple birth defects. I was maybe a little over a year old. And, after Mama trying to get my dad to see, hey, he's blind. There's nothing we can do about it, and he's going to be okay. And my dad kept saying, I can't handle it, I can't handle it. Guess what? Today, he still can't handle it. He disapproves of me going into business, but the thing you have to understand, you're an adult in the business world. You don't need your parents' approval to do this, okay? You go by approval as an entrepreneur. You're going to get eaten by the sharks. Okay, and I'm just saying this being compassionate. And I wanted something better. I wanted something more. And I had an uncle. He lives in El Paso. My Uncle Butch. God bless him. He came to see me. And from the age of 5 onward, I hear stories about how he went off to college at Texas Tech. He studied accounting and really made a success of himself. He ultimately became an accountant for 40 lawyers. I think that's amazing. And I thought, as I got older, say around my teen years, I thought, if I go away to college, I could be a success like Uncle Butch. And see, most people are conditioned by relatives. You get a good education so that you can get a good, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. My granddad was not like that. I went to see him one weekend when I was 15. He said, son, I want you to go out to Texas Tech University and go to law school there, get your law degree. And I said, now, Granddad, I've been hearing a lot of stories, about how some lawyers, they get out of law school, they become a lawyer, but guess what? They don't have time for their families. They're not happy. Their families are happy. And my granddad said, it doesn't have to be that way if you become your own man. And not make the same mistake I did for most of my adult life and just have a job. Because see, there's a second person I admire. I mean, I won't say stepfather, except like in the clinical terms, because he was my daddy. The one that my mother married when I was 3. He raised me. He was a good role model. But some of the best ones I had was my Uncle Butch, my granddad, and my swimming coach in high school. I went to Permian High School, was on the swim team. And it's almost like I hero worshipped my coach. And I thought to myself, I'd love to have a personality like that. And so I was on the swim team for a little over a semester. And he had to take me off the team because of age issues. The public schools held me back because of some stupid assessment that blind people are quote-unquote mentally challenged. Now, here's the thing. The beauty of it all. I did what my granddad said. I went off to Texas Tech University. Now, I didn't go to law school, and for years, I thought that was unfortunate. And then, Heavenly Father says, you can have an interest in advocacy. Because that's what I feel like. My degree was in political science, minoring in mass communications. So, you could say I specialize in public affairs with the field of advocacy. And Heavenly Father said, but your purpose is to go into business for yourself. And so, while I was in college, my ex-wife hooked me into a networking business. This one I felt like I could really succeed in, but my ex-wife and I had some personal hang-ups that prevented me from succeeding. Not that I'm making excuses. I'm not. Okay, it's stupidity to go on making stupid excuses like that. Okay. And then eventually in 1999, my marriage ended up in divorce. And my best buddy Keith took me in hand and showed me a better way. I was going to paralegal school at the time, and he started talking to me little about joining the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And that was the beginning. That was some of the beginning, other than how my grandfather raised me and being in the networking business. That was the beginning of how the show, Empower Your Pattern 2.0, was born. Was my BFE, Keith Cotton, working on me to join the church to find a better life. And that was the beginning. And then I tried for a master's degree, floundered around there for about 5 years. And I was like, well, then, now what? Because I went through a second networking business through some connects on the internet. And that one, not really much success. And then, boom, along comes this. Okay. Along comes this if you're ready. I don't succeed that well in the business. I think I really didn't have too much cohesion with some people in the team. And then I went suspended from the graduate school. I kind of wandered around. No purpose. And then once again through the internet found me another networking deal. But unfortunately I don't think I was very serious. I was letting life just kind of knock me around. And then this is the beginning of it, folks. This is the crescendo. COVID hit. I had started podcasting Empower Your Pattern around the fall of 2018. It was originally called Rods and Suits. But after prayer one night when I was emotionally distressed, Heavenly Father told me to change it to Empower Your Pattern. And so, what happened, and it's pretty obvious, what happened is, I've been podcasting for a while, and then COVID hit. And I wanted to podcast, I really did, but the problem was, there were many times during COVID, I just laid in bed. It was like, what's the use? Ain't got no purpose. But it's like around April and May, I started little by little getting my wings. Started little by little developing some pretty tough exterior. It's kind of like a caterpillar. And then the caterpillar goes into the cocoon. COVID was a cocoon period. And then 2021 hit. And whoo! Talk about a crap storm of events happening. You guys ready? February 2021, we had the deep freeze. Okay, that was crazy. One thing I gotta say is this. My friend Bishop Dave came to me and he said, I know you've got this in your spirit. He said, how about you consider becoming an entrepreneur again? He said, I'll give you some reading material and we were part of a lifestyle I'd still like to participate in, to tell you the truth, in what I can. It's called The Strenuous Life. Goes along with my podcast, Strenuous Life, the Strenuous Life with my alter ego, JR. And the thing is, guys, here's the beauty of it is I started looking into things, reading books and stuff, and I had formed my WordPress site. Okay, that was the beginning. And then, May, my mother moves to Dallas, Fort Worth. I thought it was just going to be, 6 months or so that she was going to be gone. But it ended up a bit more long-term than that. And then my nephew decides he's moving out. It was like, boom, boom. It was hitting me like a train wreck. October, those of you in the Restored Church of Christ, the stake presidency, which is kind of like a geographical area leadership, came together and said, we're splitting congregational geographical boundaries, ward boundaries. And so Bishop Dave got moved to another ward with a different calling. And you talk about the double whammy. And then February 2022, he announces, we're on the way back to the temple, and it's just like it was in a dream, and I thought it was a nightmare. But he announces, guess what, Jimmy? I'm moving. You talk about Crescendo City. He moved in June. July. Let's start back in April. April, May, June, July, August, and the greater part of September. I go to Toastmasters meetings, and I go to church, but I didn't get a chance to get out and be among a whole lot of people. And I would just sit there and lie on the couch and just cry. And one night I just had it. I was like, Heavenly Father, please give me purpose. Give me purpose. Give me purpose. And Bishop Davis says, how would you like to come see me in Utah? With a possibility of someday considering moving there. And I was like, oh yeah, anything but what I'm going through right now. Anything but what I'm going through right now. And I went to Utah. I visited the conference center in Temple Square. Visited Temple Square. Went to the church bookstore. And it's funny, while I was staying in Utah, it was like the Lord told me, He said, look, your purpose is not in Utah. Your purpose is back in Texas. I was like, huh? Well, like, what? I was getting desperate. Come on, Father, what is it? What is it? What is it? And then, okay, I came back Thursday the 21st, I believe. And the following Wednesday, I go to a Toastmasters meeting. And my good friend Connie, you've heard her in the episode Key Lime Pie. Do the intro there. Episode EA20. She told me about ACN. And here I was introduced to a networking business. Only this time it wasn't products. It was services. And see, I've always wanted to be like in the health industry somehow. And I thought, well, it might be the networking business that I was really obsessed in. And I heard about one service which you'll hear me talk about on March 14th. You're going to hear me talking about really and truthfully, you're going to hear me talking about these things. And I have a meeting with her in my house the next afternoon. And we were just going to talk about me switching phone services. And next thing you know, it's like the Lord was telling me, tell her you want to go into business. And by December, she had helped me invest in the money to get into ACN and everything. And now I'm telling myself I need to get it cracking. And now, in episode EA 47, you heard from my business partner, Rob. And we're about to seal the deal, okay? Because we have to do this. We have to do this. Alright? And let me tell you something. I have found my purpose. And it's something, this week, I got depressed again. And I was, the past 2 weeks, I got depressed again. I started complaining to my father. Okay, what's going on? You need to tell me now. You need to tell me now what's going on. Why am I so depressed? Why am I so lonely? Blah, 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 blah. You know, fickle news. Oh, give up. And my father says, no, you're not. He said, with your purpose, you ain't even started. And so that kind of hit me, and it's hit me this morning. How can I call myself a success, confidence, and thrive coach if I can't get myself a little forgive me, I gotta use a little Texas humor. A little to go out there and make something happen for myself. I mean, this is stuff I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to y'all. But in many ways, I'm telling myself as well. And so, I ask you guys to forgive me sometimes for some of my hypocrisy. But I'm learning. Because as a success, confidence, and thrive coach, there's many entrepreneurial gurus that talk about grinding. I listen to more people like Pastor Gary Cassie, Sir Charles Carey, Dr. Delatoro McNeil II, and they say, you don't grind. You hustle and you flow. And so that's how I roll. Okay? You've heard from Presley. You know how he operates. He talks about how Zig Ziglar went to church with him. Okay, now, one of the guys I admire from my church, he wasn't in my actual ward boundaries, but when he was alive, he was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And one of the things he says, the paradigm in business, it's not your way, it's not my way, it's our way. Because the my way or the highway, that's reactive. That's distracted, that's defiant, it doesn't take you anywhere, okay? It doesn't take you anywhere. I love Dr. Stephen Covey, and God rest his soul, He blessed my life beyond what you can think or imagine. And I do what I do because I want you guys to know how much I appreciate you. And because I should have told you more about me. And you probably heard the stories about how, they said, oh, he's mentally challenged, oh, he's immature, won't make it through college. And I overcome all that. And the reason why I overcome all that is because I had a grandfather who, not what he said, but what he did, he refused to believe the experts. And he told me that I should as well. Alright, and so that's a blessing here. That's why I am sitting before this mic and telling you what's on my heart, okay? I'm telling you now. Because you deserve to be blessed. You really do. Now with that, I hope you enjoy listening to Empower Your Pattern 2.0. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and become a part of Pattern Realm. This is Jimi Hendrix saying until next time, don't just sit there and take it. Build your dreams so you can take it. Do what others don't so you can be what others won't. And do what others won't so you can have what others can't. Please share this with Mama Son, Papa Son, and everyone. Choose, act, and pursue happiness. And God bless each and every single one of you. God bless you. I love you.